will now be recorded.
Oh, that's new. All right. So I'm looking at the list of attendees here. I see we have Steve Corfidi is on the line. And then we're still missing another, if we could get one more other line office to be represented, we'd have a quorum. But as of the moment, we're still missing one.
Yeah, it looked like based on the calendar invite that Todd Neeson did reply yes, but
I'm physically sitting right here though. So
right.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, we need three line offices, so we have two represented.
Okay, unless Steve Mango shows what she shows no on the invitation, I doubt we'll get it.
All right.
So it looks like we won't have a quorum for today. In general, though, just before I do a official welcome, I know, John, you're following up with OAR on their representation.
Yes.
Okay.
And also working with NIMP to secure a new representative there as well. That individual is out of the office for a couple weeks, I think, yet. So it may be a couple more meetings before we hear anything on that subject.
Okay. And then, yeah, so that's going to just hurt our possibility of representation from the line offices until we have a NIMS and a OIR person to be able to come to calls.
Correct.
So we should kind of note that, and maybe we have like temporary quorums in the meantime. Another thing is Western Region. Their representative is Reed Wolcott. Do they have a backup? Do they have a backup?
Yes, they do. It's a Cobb. I think it's Steve Cobb. Let me.
No, he's Southern Region.
Oh, that's Southern Region. Okay. Let's see. Oh, it's Nicole. Yeah. Nicole.
Okay. We may want to check with Western Region. Make this an action. Follow up. I believe Reed has a new position, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to continue with representing Western Region, and so we may want to see if Nicole needs a backup as well, or Nicole is going to become their primary and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Will do. Duly noted.
So some housekeeping items. Looks like Nate from Alaska Region has joined us.
Yeah,
good morning. Perfect.
Good morning in Alaska. All right, so with that, we just welcome everybody to today's call, and we'll go from there straight into the agenda.
All right. So we had scheduled Ken to give us a talk, actually a continuation of his talk, an update on the various bit tickets that have been endorsed, and I guess we'll turn it over to Ken.
Okay, so I'm going to send you, John, the spreadsheet to pull up.
Okay.
If you've got, are you signed in?
Yeah, right here.
Cool.
Oh.
Okay, so we're all getting closer to the screen. So some updates from last time. I'll start with good news. It's always good to start with good news. So the subscription manager has been completed, and it's actually deployed out to production. So those of you that happen to be community owners, you'll be able to see the subscription manager and be able to manage the subscriptions around forums, blogs, wikis, and ideas marketplace within your community. So please take a look at that. If you've got any questions, let us know. And so that's there. So that addresses the first item on the list under 50164. It also addresses the bottom of the list, find, create a portal that allows community owners to see and subscribe to wiki pages, blogs. So that's one new portlet will address both of those issues. So that's there. So I think where we were, if I remember correctly, my communities, so I think we're at line 19, 21708. So again, good news here. This is developing a portlet that shows all the issues reported by you. Mike Giebler, one of our developers, has finished the work. He's pushed that out to review for me to take a look at. And I also asked him to include within that same portlet a tab where it will show you not just the issues that are reported by you, but also the issues that are assigned to you. And so that's going to address 21708, and then also towards the bottom, 2610. And so both of those, that portlet will allow you to switch between the issues reported by you and those that are assigned to you. And it's going to be on your private landing page. And I'm working with Tao Pham, who's one of our new developers, has a good sense for look and feel and design. And so I'm working with her on developing the private landing pages. And again, this portlet will be on there. So hopefully, assuming the review goes well, that'll all be deployed out next time we meet. So let me scroll up a little bit. Okay, so we were on code review. Adding support for code, syntax highlighting, and VLab. I went through all of these issues with the team yesterday, and it was suggested for this one that we take a look and see we're using something called the CK editor. It's actually a variant of that called the Alloy editor. It's a JavaScript editor that's what's being used behind the scenes within VLCS for the wikis and forums and blogs. And so we're going to check and see. It seems like it would be logical that there would actually be a plugin to CK editor, since it's a pluggable framework which would support code syntax highlighting. So we're going to look into that, and hopefully we can report back that there is something that we don't have to do custom development for it. Because otherwise that would be a much larger effort. If we can take something that's pre-existing, that'll be, that's the preferred approach here. Okay, so implement a chat feature in Redmine VLDS. So we had some discussion surrounding this as well. What we're looking at here is NOAA has an excellent chat capability in Google Hangouts, and I guess it's going to be renamed Google Team. Meet. Why do I keep thinking Team? So Google Meet. We don't want to reproduce that, but what we're looking at doing is, can we potentially integrate or wrap the chat feature within VLDS and VLCS? So I'm going to take a look at that, or someone on the team will be looking at that, not me actually, and we'll get back to you on how feasible. I think it should be feasible, but we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Developing a new chat capability would be quite a significant task. We did find a chat capability, but it wasn't. It didn't meet our expectations. So that's the status on 18.892. Enhancing the project and user-specific notifications. That's something that we haven't begun the work on, and we need to dig into. So we'll be, as we get down this list, we're getting to lower priorities. This is still a 7, but we'll take a look at that and see what we can potentially do. Identifying how active a community is. That's something that we've partially implemented. So what we've got right now is the infrastructure to support this capability. We're using Elasticsearch, and we've got Jason Burks developed an interface for us to be able to store information into the Elasticsearch cluster for activities, and then we can leverage that information to develop dashboards and get other statistics on the communities. And so we're going to the next step. Now we have the foundation. We have to start basically making modifications to store events that we deem as being indicators of the activity within a community. And so things like forum thread posts, how many wiki entries, how active the wikis are, how many members in the community. So it's not just the number of members, but are a lot of members joining it. I think it's probably more important to understand, the actual work that's being done within the community. Is web content being updated? Are forums being updated? Or is the wikis being updated? Those would be good indicators of the activity within the community or how active a community is. So we'll be looking into that further. Archiving of old communities in a separate listing. We haven't done any work here, and that's something we'll, it's a little bit, it's a 6, it's a little bit lower priority in my mind just because we don't have a lot of old communities that are archived. So, so in terms of people being assigned to it, this would probably be pushed down a fair amount. The next, enhancing Jenkins to provide static URLs to latest build status. I need to check. Jenkins, is a pluggable framework. Again, there are a lot of plugins out there, so hopefully there might be a capability that we can leverage there in a plugin. We have, as of yet, made any custom changes to Jenkins itself, so we haven't developed any custom plugins or anything because there's such a rich set of plugins. Not to say that we couldn't. Jenkins is developed, it's a Java application, and our expertise is in Java, so it's definitely doable. But again, we're getting to the 6s, and you can see on the range of scores we go from 4 to 10. So a 6, even though it seems high, it's lower on the bit scale. So making the join date visible. We've actually actively been working on this. It's something that we wanted to, I had another developer that's fairly new take a look. Unfortunately, it's going to take more modifications than I'd hoped. And so we need to reevaluate because it's going to take a more senior engineer to do the actual work. And given its priority, we'll most likely have to push this out a little bit before it's deployed to you all, or made available to our community. Making the wiki functionality more friendly. This is something where we're going to make some changes to make the documentation for the wiki more readily available. And that'll at least partially address this concern. So we're going to work on that. And that's an easy thing for us to do. The next, modifying the VLCS announcements to include the distribution scope within the body subject of the email. Again, that's something that shouldn't be too difficult to do. The trick here is exposing the distribution scope within the logic where it's actually generating the email itself. So if that's already available, it'll be a no-brainer. It'll be easy to do. I suspect that's not the case, and so it's a little bit more of a customization. But again, I've got another developer that this might be a good project to work on. So, okay, so VLab multi-word searches. I didn't hit on it because it was at the top and I covered it last time, but we are doing a fair amount of work with search. We're rolling out a feature. It's Elasticsearch 6.1 Wednesday evening. And the reason for this is that we're currently using Elasticsearch 246 library, which is the package that runs behind VLCS, is going to update, or it now supports a later version of Elasticsearch. And what we found is that it's much improved in terms of the functionality. So we're finding things behave the way we would expect with this version. And the multi-word search, appears to work properly within 6.1. So that hopefully should be fixed by Thursday morning, or addressed by Thursday morning. Process of managing subscriptions, the forum post isn't integrated well. That one, I think they didn't necessarily, they wanted a way, I think John can correct me, I believe when we talked about it yesterday, I think the goal here was to have a way of managing your subscriptions from the forum portlet itself rather than having to go to my subscriptions portlet with it, which is in the product menu, which is on the left-hand side. Again, you know, this is a priority 5, or an impact score 5. So that's something that we're not going to get to anytime soon. Best practices for the various emails. I think, John, is that something you're working on?
Right. Yes, I am.
So again, it's a lower priority. So, you know, the way that we address these things is we look at the priority that the VIT's giving it, we look at the level of effort associated with the work, and then the resources that we have on the team that are able to address the issue, and then work from there. So those are the 3 considerations. And so this, you know, it's up to John to figure out, based on the other priorities, when to work on that. So, okay, so requesting markdown formatting support in Redmine. The problem here is they do support markdown, but it's an all or nothing. Text file format is what's being used today. That's a default. We have, you know, 400 some odd projects, I think, now within Redmine. Many of them already have wiki formatting. So if we were to change it, that would break things. So out of the box, this just isn't possible. We could potentially look to see if we could wrap it or make some sort of configuration setup at a project level, so that if a project wanted to say, oh, I want to use this type of formatting, they could potentially do it. The trick is that the formatting of the wiki isn't just in the wiki. It's being used elsewhere. It's being used within the issues. And so it's a little bit more complicated. So this is something that we'll do a little bit more investigation on, but we may have to push back and say it's really not possible given the priority that the VIT's given it and the level of effort that would be required to do this work. So. All right, I've already talked about.
Hey Ken, before you leave that
sure.
one, so does there come a point in the process where maybe the VLST wants to make a recommendation that a ticket be, you know, because of either
put on hold or
something like that?
Checked out or something.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds like it may come awful close to something that just isn't going to be feasible.
Right. Yeah, I think that's something we should discuss as a VIT. So.
Brian, how would you envision something like that happening if the VLST has a VIT endorsed ticket that they've looked at and it just seems infeasible? Do you want them to get on the agenda, make their case, and then we would consider and vote on it, kind of thing?
I was thinking that it'd almost be like a info for us to maybe reprioritize. So I don't know if they have to make I know there's a case, but we'd like to hear it. I mean, you could send it along or whatever, and maybe it leads to a reprioritization where we prioritize it even lower, or we take it, if it's deemed it's not going to happen, then we take it off our list and say we should have something that. Here's what I was thinking too: is we should have a list of things both that we've done, completed, and things that we've decided we're not going to do. So somebody comes and says, oh, I want that to be done. We say, well, we considered it, talked to the VLST, and the VLST said it wasn't possible, and so we decided that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's good to have a backlog, or basically a parking lot. I don't know what you want to consider it, but things change too. We're using open source software. It could be, there are other things that we can potentially do as well. We can go out to the Redmine and I can, or one of our team members can actually create an issue on their open source package and say, hey, how about this? The likelihood of something happening, it just depends upon the community and the developers there. But so that's a possibility. The other thing is that it may be that we get lucky and some sort of capability that isn't really possible now because of the underlying infrastructure or software we're using, that open source software changes. We're looking at upgrading to the 3.4 version of Redmine in the next couple of months. And it's gonna have some new features, and it's going to fix some bugs and things like that. So I've got one of the people on our team that's gonna document it's well documented already, but it's an extensive list. So basically look at it from our perspective and say, well, what are the things that we really care about? So
so that's a good idea. So can we take an action, John, to create something like a backlog where the VLST will let us know of something that they don't think is really possible or not going to be able to be done at this time, and the VLab, the VIT can decide to move it to the backlog or just remove it entirely. But if it's overtaken by other events, we've done that before. But so something to that effect.
Maybe a priority 0 or something, or a impact score of 0, which would to keep it.
Sure.
We could search on it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. We're definitely, the whole point of issue tracking is that we're not deleting issues.
Right.
So there's a record there.
Even if the status is just changed to on hold or something. I don't know. I forget what tracker you're using for this, if it has that attribute, but it's on hold or deferred.
It does have hold.
So that way you're not deleting it.
Yeah.
On hold, and then we put in the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
So that's the end of the current tickets. Now I'll have to go back and look. There might have been a couple added since the last time. I don't recall. But this was what I captured last time around. We'll make sure that these updates get applied to the tickets themselves. So.
Cool. Any questions from the members for Ken?
Have we posted this spreadsheet in the VIC community somewhere?
I don't believe so. I may have referenced it, although I'm not entirely sure, in our minutes.
Okay, it might be good to maybe in the VIT ranking area or somewhere along those lines that we do something similar. Have a link or another viewer to this.
Is this something you're going to continue to maintain, Ken, or is this just a one-off?
So ideally, I think we talked about this last time. Ideally, I'd like to be doing this within Redmine.
Okay.
That's the whole point behind it. And so there's one one of the features that's been requested is the ability to see the last update. So if I had that, I could do it all there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what we should do is, let me see if I can figure out a way we'll get this information in that one column with the colors into the issues themselves. And then and then once I've done that, then you have all the information in here in that, and that's the right way of doing it. So, so we can temporarily point to this. It's a Google Drive document.
Right.
But like I said, it really needs to be within the other. So it was just an easy way to quickly run through it. So.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
I was going to say that as a joke. If only we had a good issue tracking
tool. Yeah.
As I'm working on it, I'm like, I should not be doing this here. So anyway.
Okay, so the menu had called for Steve, and I assume Steve Smith is not on the line.
I am on the line.
Are on the line. Perfect. In which case, we are now ready for the VLab director's update. And so, Steve, we turn the floor over to you.
Thanks, John. So I don't have much to report, but one significant item was basically a follow-up to Kate Friedman's demo at one of the VLab owners meetings of the FE3 GFS community, which was really enlightening presentation and demo that spurned our idea that we should bring this good work to the attention of the Weather Service Director, because it's really significant in using VLab for what it was really designed for. One of the main use cases that it was designed for, core development for numerical weather prediction modeling, etc. So I teamed up with Kate and VJ Talapragada over in EMC, and we booked an hour of Louis' time using the Google form that they have for this kind of thing, and gave the demo not just for Louis, but for other people were invited along the way, and Mary Erickson, the DAA, attended. And it was really, I think, important briefing / demo that showed the power of the VLab applied to this very, very important project. And not only that, but it demonstrated how VLab can be used in conjunction with GitHub.com to reach out and engage the sort of non-NOAA users in the way that is amenable to their collaboration and participation on projects of various types. So it's always hard to say what's the benefit of any individual briefing, but the feedback I got afterwards was that this was really eye-opening for Dr. Uccellini and others, and kind of help crystallize some things. That's another question you always have, is when does an idea really take root? Sometimes people seem to get it, but they don't really when you talk to them later. Anyway, I wanted to, thank Kate for her hard work to put together that site, and also for doing the demo during the briefing and etc. So that undoubtedly was helpful to the larger effort. And I think we're going to be pursuing either for different ways this use case of people having their software repositories, the so-called gold standard copies, in the VLab, and then using GitHub.com to also store their code for sharing with external collaborators or whoever, is going to become a more and more used scenario in the sort of the broader NOAA R2O O2R world. So it's just gonna be a natural, actually, because increasingly our reliance on people outside of NOAA for a variety of things is going to increase, and in fact it's baked into a number of these projects, including certainly the FE3 GFS. So anyway, the other thing I'll mention in a broader context is, and this is, I apologize, this is really Weather Service sorts of business, but Dr. Uccellini recently has expressed his desire that the VLab be used more for the promotion of the IDSS activities throughout Weather Service, and he specifically encouraged, the WCMs, which are warning coordination meteorologists, and the WFOs to begin using it more, or use it more. So we'll be working inside, I think, with the Weather Service Evolve Program Management Office to follow up on that desire. you know, a standing use case, one that we've seen become almost, you know, humdrum. It's being so prevalent is the idea that we set up a community in the VLab, and then there's a forum established, which has its own email address, and then users, say somebody develops a new product or a new application, and they're looking to get feedback from their users or their potential users. This usage has grown with time, and it certainly fits the kind of thing that we're looking for IDSS, in that people share ideas, they share how they're using tools, best practices, whatever. So I think that's something that it could obviously benefit for the things that Dr. Icciolini is pointing to for the IDSS. So that's undoubtedly going to increase. Other than that, I think that's sort of the highlights, I think, since the last time that I had a chance to chat with you all. We're good budget-wise for, you know, this year was good, and next year, thanks to the 2-year budget resolution. So I think we're looking to continue to do more stuff, and our staffing is good. In fact, I don't know if it's mentioned, but we've brought on another person into the VLST who's going to be helping us with user interface things. So where she just began a couple weeks ago. I don't know if that was mentioned by Ken or anyone else. And we have our own VIT member, Todd Neeson here, who has joined us recently as an NREP assignment for at least 6 months, hoping to get him further to advance the outreach efforts that we have, and maybe some other things. So you know, from where I sit, things are looking pretty good, maybe very good. I'm always kind of working in the government, hesitant to be too optimistic, but you know, it looks like I think we've got plenty of more good work to do, but we have a lot of great creative people who are helping us out to bring those things to bear fruit. Yeah. So any questions?
All right. Any questions for Steve?
Nothing specific, but hope, Steve, are you able to remain on for the rest of the call?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, wonderful. So that brings us to the next agenda item, where Brian is going to lead the team, I believe, in a discussion regarding next steps for our strategic planning team, which has hit a bump or two in the road here recently. Brian?
Yeah, so I wasn't on the last call. John, are you able to just provide a quick update of where the status is at the moment?
All right, so I believe we had a team of roughly 3 core individuals who were going to be working on our strategic plan for the VLab. And let's see, so who was the gentleman? I can't think of his name.
I'm sorry.
The individual is heading. Oh, Bill Ward.
Bill Ward.
Yeah. There we go. So Bill Ward was to head up the team, and he just ultimately found that he had way too much on his plate, and you know, the folks out in Western region were losing some additional individuals, and so for the sake of the work of the team, he basically resigned, letting us know that we'd have to find someone else to head up that effort. He did at the last meeting indicate he was going to provide us a set of slides from his presentation now probably a couple months back. Haven't seen those slides yet, so I'm not quite sure just when we're going to get them, but that was the one thing that he was planning to at least close out his tenure with, was sort of an update on where he was in the process, so to speak. So the logical thing would be, assuming we still want this work to go on, would be to recruit a new person to lead this effort. Yes. So I guess the last time we were looking for Bill Ward to, for someone to fill the position, we actually sent out a number of emails across the line offices seeking a volunteer. We could always do that same thing over.
Well, I guess what I was wondering, since Steve and Todd are on, and I know that they're focused on outreach for the VLab, but what are the thoughts, Steve? Do you have any thoughts on how you might want to approach this? I don't necessarily want to take total responsibility here if it's not needed, or you don't think it's needed from a VIT director perspective. Then maybe we don't need to do it. But
yeah, so I don't know if you're aware, Brian, the whole gang is here in Silver Spring this week, and we've got a couple of meetings yet to come before the end of the week, and I intend to talk with some people, Ken and John and others, about this. So let me postpone making any weighing in here until I've had a chat to talk with those guys to get their feeling on it, and then let's get back on steps forward on that, whether we should look for another lead or modify the task or abandon the task. I don't have a strong sense at this point.
Okay.
What's the best thing to do? So I'd like to gather some more opinions on it, if you don't mind.
Nope, that's fine. I'd rather have that, and then the VIT can provide input as well, but I don't want it to be a VIT thing only.
Sure. I appreciate your nuanced approach to it.
Okay. Yeah. So that you can have that, I guess, John S. as the action for that discussion.
I've already noted it.
Sounds good. And then I guess you got the next one.
Sure. So I Ken alluded to this, and I think it's it's a great day for the VLab to once again have the ability to manage subscriptions. All thanks to Mike Giebler, who did some great work for the team, and of course, obviously for the VIT. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so is this it? No. There we go. So this is what I was going to show first, which is the fact that we had this call for comments regarding VIT issue 5164, which was to implement the aforementioned subscription manager when it was no longer available because of our migration to DXP. And so now to help facilitate that discussion / concurrence or whatever, let me just give a quick update or just demo on how the new tool works. So basically, you're a community owner and you want to manage some subscriptions for various items within the VLab. Oops, I guess I didn't really want to do that. I want to do this. You go over to the product menu. So in this case, we're looking at the Virtual Lab Improvement Team community, and you come down to configuration, and then one of the items in there is subscription manager. And by clicking on that, it'll take you to a page that looks like this. And you'll notice across the top, there are, in this case, 4 tabs, and there can be a varying number of tabs depending on what your community actually has in terms of, subscription manageable resources. So for our community, we have forum categories that can be managed. We have a wiki node or more wiki pages, and some items in the document library, in this case, folders. So at that point, you then decide what it is that you're interested in managing your subscriptions for. And so for today's demonstration, we're going to initially start off with the forum category. And you can see we have a number of categories that we can manage. We have the vertical ellipses over on the right, which contains a number of options. One allows us to view the particular item, in this case, the forum category. So if you just wanted to see what's in it, we could go directly there and mess around a bit, perhaps then come back and manage our subscription later. We can just view what's in the particular category. So, what is it? What kind of messages does it have in a separate window? And then the more sort of meaty thing that we might want to do is manage subscriptions for this particular forum category. So in doing that, we see a list of the people in the community. So these prospectively are the folks that you want to manage the subscription for. And you can see that it tells you whether or not they're subscribed with this little Boolean. And then you have a link over to the right, which allows you to change the status. So if they're already subscribed, then you can unsubscribe them. So on a one-by-one basis, you can just use these links on the right, but you may want to do some sort of mass subscription or unsubscription. So you can click on these check blocks on the left, which allow you to select multiple users. You can select all users by clicking on that particular check block.
That would be all users on the current page. So if a community has more than one page full of users, that's,
yes.
Just want to make sure of that.
Right. And I think that's something we're going to be working to make.
Well, no, it's an option up there. So if you go up, you can say, so there's the subscribe all community members.
Okay, right. But yes, so it would be nice. No, that's okay. That's right. So for the purpose of this demonstration, though, we're just going to make it simple and just show that you can unsubscribe somebody. And let's see, this is ours, so we don't want to unsubscribe that person. Let's subscribe Jonathan real quick. And so lo and behold, he now, you can see we can unsubscribe him, so you can click back. Alrighty, so there, as Ken alluded to, there are a number of other buttons on the page. So instead of dealing with just small groups or individuals, you can do things en masse for the entire community. So the first one you can do is subscribe all community members, and then you can subscribe selected. Okay, so if we'd selected a couple check boxes, we'd click that button. And then if we want to do everybody, so forth. And then on the right side is the negative of that. You can unsubscribe everybody that's in the community, and you can also unsubscribe all the selected blocks. So one of the twists that one can find in managing subscriptions is that in some places, let's take for example the VLab forum community, people can actually subscribe to a particular forum category without actually being a member of the community. So on the public facing page, there's a forum that they can subscribe to. And so to accommodate that scenario, we have the ability to unsubscribe all subscribers. So this means that it'll unsubscribe both members of the community and people who have just subscribed to it who are not members. The relevant point there is that if you unsubscribe a non-member of the community, there's sort of no going back on that one per se. Whereas if you unsubscribe all the community members, then you can just go back over here and subscribe them back if you needed to. So a minor point, but it could be important. And then let's assume you did do such a thing. There was a person or two that you unsubscribed inadvertently. Then you can rely on this third capability, which is to go through all the VLab users and then individually select a person. So let's say you unsubscribe someone who's not a member of the community, but you wanted to resubscribe them. Then you would click on the search all users. And we'll go ahead and click on that. I should have done that a minute ago because it does take a little bit of time to go through the 25,000 people.
It's every user with a no LDAP is in here.
Right. So once it does come up, then you can simply use the search feature to look for Chatel, for example.
And the reason you may want to ask why we didn't, provide an ability to select all here is that we didn't want that. That would take a long time. Plus, it might be against policy to be able to spam everyone with a NOAA. So we figured this is a way to give someone the ability to add a person individually. But most use cases, to be honest, it's going to be people are going to subscribe themselves. So I think the more common occurrence will be a community owner will go in and say, hey, I want to subscribe everyone in my community to this forum. And so they can do that now.
Absolutely. So one other just real quick sort of different scenariio I wanted to show.
John?
We have, yes?
Yeah, before you go to the ideas marketplace.
Okay, sure.
So I guess what I was asking in, let's go to the GIS and NWS community, for example.
Okay, let's see, I guess the easiest way is to
go up to actually the top right.
Which one?
Yeah, GIS and NWS.
Okay.
That's either way.
Am I there now? I can't tell. I think I am. Okay, so GIS. And NWS. Oh, no, I guess I need to spell it. All right, so down here, I don't know. There it is. Bang.
Are you not a member?
I guess I'm not a member.
Yeah.
Oh, I am a member.
So,
okay.
just click on this.
Click on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. And then my communities.
And just search for GIS.
GIS. All right, here it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we are.
So go to the forums.
Oh, forums? Okay.
Yeah.
You want to manage the forums subscription?
Just go to the forums first. Just go to the forums first. Okay. So if you hit the subscribe button in the upper right, but you don't subscribe to the individual categories.
Right.
That was my question.
Yeah.
How do I know if you're subscribed to all categories or not?
Yeah, I've looked at this too. I don't think you can. I mentioned that to Mike, and he's going to have to figure out how to do that. But currently, it doesn't seem to look for that as a item to subscribe to.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what I was kind of getting at. I think that probably needs to be addressed because somebody comes in and subscribes to all categories.
If you click on subscribe there, do it for a second,
okay,
and then go into the category below and ... Is it? Okay. So you're not.
Yeah, it still lets you subscribe to the individual.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, one, if there are issues with the subscription to the different ways of subscribing, and then also, again, from the purposes of managing it, to me, it looks like there's not a lot of people subscribe when I think there actually are.
Yeah. Effectively, when they click that top level category, they are subscribed to the others. So we're going to have to look at that, and basically that should be a pretty straightforward change on our end. That was an oversight.
Yeah, and theoretically, I'd also like to be able, like again, I mentioned, to be able to subscribe somebody to all categories as opposed to having to go one by one if there were multiple categories. So that's kind of where that fits in as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's Mike's also aware of the use case where you wanted to subscribe everybody. Subscribe somebody to all forums.
Yeah, so go ahead with the ideas marketplace one and grab it.
All right, so let me see. So the best way to get back is just do this. Marketplace and subscription manager.
And Mike responded while we were in the meeting about the ideas marketplace a little as well. So see what you
okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So was a question there, and because from a design perspective, ideas marketplace is a little bit different. We're creating a category for every idea, a forum category for every idea. So he asked me, well, should we display those within forums? I said no, because ideas, are more granular typically, and so those ideas marketplace forum categories, they only appear under the ideas marketplace listing here, and then and you can hopefully get to the information you need to get to from there to see who's actually subscribed to each of those ideas.
Mm-hmm. Well, so there's two issues. This is what I was trying to raise with the ideas marketplace. Again, knowing that it's a special case. So just taking an idea, an individual idea, spruce budworms, for example.
Right.
So go in and try to manage that.
Okay.
I have no way of managing this because I believe that maybe the 6 people we see there are right. Test users or owners of the communities. So how do I manage subscribers for this?
So what you would have to do in this case, as it stands now, is you would have to search all users for that individual, and then you could manage them. But we'll call it the bug. The bug here is that the community that you're part of is what it's deriving the membership from. So these people here are either subscribers or they're members of the NWS community. The reason we don't see like 5,000 people there is because people are actually members not of NWS community, but of a sub-organization. So we'll say OSTI, for example, or something else. And the subscription manager is not going down that tree to collect up all those people, so to speak. So there's just a very few who are just a member of the NWS community. In fact, these people probably couldn't be assigned to some other community because of a deficiency in their LDAP entry or something. So Mike's aware of that, and he'll have to look at how one would go about collecting up those users. So in theory, what we should see here is actually a large number of people who are members of the NWS community.
Yeah, that we should be able to address that. It's the communities already do it. So in other words, it's hierarchical. The community is tied to an organization, and if you're a member of a sub-organization within, you're inherently a member of the upper levels. So like, if you're a member of OSTI, you'd then be a member of NWS and HQ, and then you'd be a member of NWS and be a member of NOAA. And so we just need to make sure that this adheres to that and is looking for that. Basically, that if you're a member of any sub organization, then you'd adhere within it.
Yeah. So let's talk about this more later and through the thread. Let's keep the thread open and also let's keep the issue open just for now. And it's been worked on, and then we can continue this discussion and maybe bring it up next time as well.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I didn't see, did you demo the announcements portlet or just the subscription manager?
Let's see, did I demo the subscription manager? Oh, no, not the announcements. No, I did not. We could do that for sure, but I guess we're kind of running out of time.
No, yeah, we don't have to do it. We don't have to do it today. I didn't see any feedback from anybody. I tried it out. It seemed to work good. You had put a test message, it looked like, in there, John. I just wanted to confirm that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, it looked like it was good, and if anybody has any feedback, you created the instructions, and that was sent out. So, right. If anybody has any feedback, send it to the email thread. Otherwise, I think you might be able to close the ticket.
Sounds good.
And with that,
right.
You can move on to the next.
Okay, so we have open action item review, and we can quickly pull that up. Certainly. Action item review. There we go. So we have a number of still open action items. I guess David is on the hook to work with the leadership to decide, who the new lead might be for strategic planning team. Although, based on our conversations today, that will probably take place as a result of Steve consulting with other folks. So anyway, this still remains open. We do need to resolve what to do with the strategic planning team effort, and currently David will be the person responsible for kind of orchestrating that to some extent.
Yeah, I would just tie that in. I would tie that in with the other action from today.
Yeah, I will do that. Provide an update on the VIT, on the status of VIT tickets. So with today's talk, we'll be able to close that out, and gave us a very comprehensive update. Add documentation on the announcements portlet. So that was what we were just discussing, or what Brian had alluded to, that the information had been posted and made available for everybody's review. And so we'll close that out today. Work with the VLab director on obtaining the slides from Bill Ward on his strategic planning team update. I guess we're still working that, so that will remain open. Provide the VLab improvement team with a copy of the, copy of the presentation. Okay, so that's the same one. The following two, I should say, deal with a strategic planning team, so there have been no change there. They will remain open. And then I guess Tammy Adams is no longer with the VIT, so we'll have to look to reassign this to her successor. But the new person will probably try to close this one out, I suspect, in that we were trying to work with Eric Rasmussen to see if there were any ideas that could be pulled out of some presentation slides that he had created. So that too will remain open. Any questions on open action items? All right, perfect. And that brings us to action items from today's meeting. And actually, I came up with quite a few, so hopefully I'll be able to get them done here fairly quickly. One is we need to create what I'll call a backlog on VIT tickets that can be moved into a holding status, we'll call it, when they no longer appear to be ripe for continued progress. We also need to transfer, VIT tickets, VIT rank tickets, transfer to tickets. Oh yes, so Ken used a Google Sheet to update us, and there were a number of comments in there, which basically status information, which we will transfer to the appropriate VIT ticket in Redmine. So I have the action to do that. I also have an action to provide the link to that spreadsheet so that folks can review it. It'll be as part of the meeting minutes, and also I will create a link as one of the things under the VIT process. Let's see, okay. So Steve is going to give some thought to how we should proceed with the strategic planning team effort and get back to the team on that. Let's see, OAR, I need to continue to work with OAR and NIMS on finding replacements for their representatives to the team. Western Region is probably going to lose Reed, so I need to confirm that he is no longer the leader or the VIT member for the Western Region, and that find out if Nicole is going to be the new representative, and then solicit a backup for Nicole if she's the new member. And let's see, then let's see, so I've got forum subscription here. So super users. Okay, so there's a number of modifications that need to be made potentially to the new subscription manager. And the first one is that you need to be able to subscribe or manage subscriptions to the overall forum. So this would be the thing that contains the forum categories. We also need to be able to subscribe a user to all forum categories. Then we need to ensure that all appropriate users are in the NWS community when applied to the what is it, the ideas marketplace. So you can actually subscribe people to the various ideas. The ticket, which I don't have in front of me at the moment. Let's see. Yeah, ticket